Hello, my name is Dan, and I am the church planter of Bytown Community Church. And you may be wondering, why start a church right now? 2020 was a rough year, and for many, 2021 hasn't actually been much better. For some of us, it may actually have felt a bit harder. There's a lot of things all around us that feel like they are dying, and many of us are overcome with grief. Whether it's just simply missing your friends while you're traveling, trying to navigate online schooling, or maybe you find yourself laid off or unemployed, or maybe you are working, but you face the stress each day that comes with not knowing when or if you may get the virus. Many of us have lost a loved one, and it's a season filled with grief. We still don't know the kinds of impacts that the pandemic is going to have on people's mental health long term. And in the middle of a pandemic, it's actually a really good question to ask, why start a new church? Well, I believe more than ever before, people need connection. People need to know that there is a God that loves them, and we need to know that there is a hope that is greater than just vaccines. And I want to tell you a story today that comes in the Gospels about Jesus. And this particular story is found in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 7, verses 11 to 17. And I just invite you to listen as I tell this story. Once Jesus was walking through this small village called Nain, and it was south of his hometown Nazareth in Galilee. And as he approached the city gates, he saw a crowd leaving the city. And what did he see but a young man carried out on a stretcher? A crowd was forming around him, driven by compassion for his mother's loss. And then Jesus saw her, a widow. She had lost her husband, and now she had lost her only son. All of her financial stability in that culture was now gone. Her husband's family name would end with her, and she would be all alone. Look at her face. Do you see her grief? Can you feel her sadness, her pain? This is a particular type of anguish that a mother experiences when she has to bury her child that is just beyond words. Imagine her questions. God, why? Why would you take my husband and now my only son? The doubt creeps in, the uncertainty, the hopelessness. Do you see her? Well, you know who does see her? Jesus sees. He sees her, and the text says that he is moved by compassion. He does not overlook her. He does not run away from the pain, but he does not keep walking to wherever he had planned to go that day. No, he stops and he sees, and he enters into her story and into her grief. Do not weep, he says. Can you hear his words? How do you hear him say it? What do they sound like to the woman? What do they sound like to you? Well, with gentle hands that wipe away tears, but actually have the strength to hang stars in place, Jesus touches the briar, the stretcher where the young man is laid, and he reaches into death, and life floods into the body of this boy. The crowd gasps, startled. They back away. What is he doing? In that culture, you do not touch the dead. Jesus is now considered unclean. He cannot worship freely in the temple. He cannot interact with others freely. He should, let's say, self-isolate. But usually the dead make the living unclean, but in this case, Jesus seems to have authority over death. Instead of the dead getting on him and making him yucky, he makes the dead come to life. As the crowd stands amazed, unable to move, mesmerized by what is taking place before them, they hear sputtering, speaking, and it's getting louder. What is happening? Who is talking? It's the young man. What is he saying? It's hard to make out. Can the dead speak? Any doubts that he is actually dead are being contested before our very eyes. And Jesus, like a father, he takes the boy and he helps him off the stretcher. Can you see him embrace him? Can you see the gentle, strong love of the father? He gently guides him to his mother. The crowd leans in and watches the woman, paralyzed by fear. She stands in disbelief of what has happened before her. She is prepared to bury her son, and now he is back to life. Tears stream down her face, but this time they are not tears of grief. No, they are tears of joy. Jesus has come and saved her. He has rescued her from a life of unbearable grief, poverty, shame, and struggle. And the crowd just breaks out into praise. Who is this prophet among us? God has looked favorably upon us. What an unbelievable experience that has happened here. They go, telling the story of what they have experienced, and the news spreads all over the province. Well, little did they know that soon Jesus would be in the same place as that young man, carried on a stretcher, bruised and battered to be laid in a grave. Little did they know that the same resurrection power that brought this boy back to life would actually be at work in him as well. They had seen nothing yet. Jesus can bring dead things back to life. And you need to hear that Jesus is in the business of renewal and resurrection. You need to hear these words, and I desperately need to hear these words. He has the power to meet us in the places of death, despair, hopelessness, and bring us new life. And this doesn't mean that we somehow don't experience great suffering. No, actually, it's the opposite. Jesus tells us that we will experience pain in this world, and if we choose to follow him, he tells us it's going to be hard. The promise is that he actually will be with us in the pain, and that he will eventually make all things new. He has overcome. He is bigger than anything we may face, and he is the one that we need to put our trust in. So as I wrap up, I want you to know that this reason is why we are church planting. Jesus is making all things new, and he is at work in this world. We want people to know that God loves them, he is with them, and that he has not forgotten them. And he enters into our pain and has the power to bring new life. He is our hope, and he is our source of strength. So how do you relate to the widow in this story? What are you longing for? What feels dead that you would love to see be brought to life? I want to encourage you to bring that to Jesus. And I want you to know that Bytown Community Church hopes to be a place that reveals Jesus to people and allows them to get before him so that they can receive healing and wholeness. We hope to be a place that makes it known that our hope and our only hope is in the power of Christ's death and resurrection. He is the only one that can save us. And I want to invite you to journey with us as we seek to reveal Christ and make him known, living by our faith in our neighborhoods, workplaces, and families. And I want you to know that Jesus is up to amazing work, and we want to join him. Thanks for listening.